right, welcome to the second part of our authentication and protected route tutorial using React Router, React Redux, all the fun tools. So what we're going to do today is we're going to continue this app and we're going to build out the rest of the functionality that we have here on our server. So far we have used the login endpoint here to log in with these credentials. This login returns a token, and if those credentials match, if not, an error. We have been able to implement our get functionality, so we are getting a list of friends. Now this endpoint and the rest of the endpoints in the server all use this authenticator middleware. So this authenticator middleware will check to see if we have added the authorization token to the header. And if we have, then we go ahead and call next, and we do the rest of our functionality here. If we are not logged in, then we send this error back, status 403, which is going to be important for us in our private route component, and then this error here. So we've got our get friends functionality. We have implemented in part one the delete functionality. So for this part of our tutorial, we're going to implement adding a new friend with this post call and updating a friend with the put endpoint. So let's take a look at our front-end app. We've got our login form here, and we can log in and we can see a list of our friends. And then we can delete friends, and it deletes our friends there. So the next part that we want to do, let's take a look at our private route just to see how we're using that error status code that I talked about. So if at any point we get a 403 returned, if we don't add a token, or not for this project, but for any other server that you may work with, if the token times out or if the session times out, then our action sends the user unauthorized action type, dispatches this, which will set up, which will add that error status code 403 to our Redux store. If this happens, then, and we get an error status 403, then we redirect back to login. So at any point during the life of our application, if we have made an API call and the router and the API returns a status 403, meaning we're no longer logged in, no longer authenticated, then we automatically redirect back to our login form. Okay, so let's take a look at what we want to do. So we want to build out an add friend form and be able to add a new friend to our list of friends here. So we've got a form built out, just the start of a form. The state property here is controlling our three inputs. So we've got a name input, an email input, and an age input. And they're all being controlled by that friend object on state. Any changes that happen get passed through the handle changes component. We've got placeholders with example data so that our users have an example of what the placeholder of what we want them to type into the input. And the label here tells them what the input is for, which field the input is. So I like this split up. I like having a label to direct the user, to tell the user what the input is for, and then a placeholder to give them an example of what data can go inside there. So we've got that for all of our three inputs. If we look at our handle changes function, we are first grabbing the value off of the event target object, And if our value, or if the input that we're typing into is the age input, we're going to change that value that was typed in there to an integer. And then no matter what input field we type into, we are going to pass that value to the input that we typed into, and update that on state, which will update it in our view. All right, so let's go add this to our app.js. So we want friend form added in here. Now we're going to make a new protected route. So we're going to add a new private route here. And this is going to be, we're going to say friend form. And this is going to be friend form. So when we route to the path friend form, we go through the private route protector, and then we display this component, this friend form component. And then we've got our links up here that will take us to our two different protected routes. So let's go make sure that we can get to our form, and there we go. Now, if we're not logged in, then when we try to route to friend form, we should be redirected to the login page. Yep, there we go. Perfect. So we log in, we go to our add friend. Let's make sure we can type. And the last thing we want to check is to make sure that the state is being set correctly on our form. So let's just check out our form here, friend form, our state object, everything looks correct. Awesome. So next we want to handle submitting this form. And what we're going to do is we're going to build an action creator to handle submitting this form. It's first going to dispatch an action type called add friend start, which will give us a loader icon here, similar to the loader icon in the login form. So let's handle this first in friend form. So we know that we want to connect our form. So we've got our connect function imported here, and we're going to have an action creator called add friend that we're going to import. We don't have that built out yet, but we've got those two pieces being imported here. So let's go down and connect our friend form function or component. Now, at some point, we're going to have a piece of our Redux state called adding friend. We don't have that built in yet, so for now, we're not going to have a map state to props function built yet, but we'll come back and build that after we get the dispatch and the reducer finished for this this piece of our state. But we do have our action creator, add friend action creator. So we'll pass that into the action creator object. Now let's go up here, and our form on submit is invoking this.addFriend. Not to be confused with our add friend action creator, which is on props. So this function here is a class property that we're going to define right now called add friend. And then this.props.addFriend is the action creator. Class property, this.friend, action creator, this.props.addFriend. Now when we call our action creator, we're going to pass our friend object that is on the state. And of course we want to run prevent default since we're submitting a form or pushing a button. Okay, we've got that piece in. Let's go ahead and make this action creator here. So first we want our action types. Export const. I just pasted that, so I'm going to make the function first and then our action types. So there's our action creator. It's a function that takes in a friend. Ooh, this is going to be an asynchronous action creator. So we want to return another function so we get access to that dispatch function. All right, so now we're going to make our action creators. Action type is going to be add friend start. And we're going to add one for our success and our finish as well. So let's do success, but let's spell it correctly. Oh, there we go. And let's do a failure. I don't know why I do that. This seems like extremely negative. Maybe my subconscious is trying to tell me something about my life. Nah. Okay, so when we first invoke add friend by submitting our form, we're going to dispatch the add friend start. Oh, add friend start. So let's go ahead and solve for this in our reducer. And what we want our reducer to do is to toggle, let's scroll down to our button, is to toggle this piece of our state, adding friends. So we want an adding friend Boolean value on our Redux store, on our state tree. We're going to bring that in with the map state to props function into this component. When this is true, which will be flipped, toggled to true when we run add friend start. So when that happens, and this is toggled to true, we're going to have our 3 dots loader in that button rather than our add friend text. Just a way to show our users that we've kicked off an API call, hang tight, data's coming back, promise, we're gonna get that for you. So in our action, we're dispatching add friend start. Let's add all of these to our reducer file here. And just so you know, it is absolutely killing me that this is not in alphabetical order, but I'm not going to fix that, take time to fix that right now. So we also want our adding friend Boolean here. That gets initialized as false. Now let's go handle our case for the add friend start action type. Okay, we're going to return our state with adding friend toggle to true. And the last piece we want to do here is in our friend form, create our map state to props function so that we can bring in adding friend connect through this connect function here. Now I'm going to do this the shortcut way. If you go to the private route component, all of my connected components are using this deconstructed state object. We're deconstructing the state object here that gets passed into map state to props, and we're doing the implicit return of an object. So this, if you look in private route, this is an example of what would happen if we didn't deconstruct and we didn't do the implicit return. I guess we can add this here as well. Let's do that. State.error status code. Now that matches exactly what this would be if we didn't use all the short syntax. All the rest of our components are using all the shortcuts for our map state to props object. So I'm going to continue that pattern here. And we're going to implicitly return an object with adding friend. So now we have this.props.addingFriend inside our friend form component coming from our Redux state. So let's jump into here. Oh, gotta log back in. Let's go to add friend. When we click this, we should see, what happened? We didn't pass our map state to props to connect. It helps if it actually flows through the connect function. There we go. So we've got our visual cue that we are doing some kind of data call, some kind of API call is happening. So the next thing we want to do, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this is our post. I'm gonna wrap our send inside a set timeout again, just so we can get a little bit better feel of actually making an API call to an external server, not to something in our own local machine. Let's do this one for 800 milliseconds. So our login has a set timeout for 1 second. The delete times out for 1.5 seconds. And this one will time out for 800 milliseconds. All right, so now let's go back to our action creator and let's actually make our post call. So our action creator is taking in our friend object here. So we're going to run axios.post and we're going to go to this endpoint /API/friends. Let's just double check that, post /API/friends. Perfect. Then a post call takes in an object as the body, as the request body. So if we look at our server, we have, when a post call to this endpoint comes in, it flows through our middleware. Then if that passes the check there, it invokes this function, this callback function here. And we're creating a new friend with an ID and a body on the rec or the request object. So the way that we get all the values, all of our friend values onto this body object is by passing it in as the second argument to our post. So whatever we pass in as our second argument to a post request will be the request.body inside the server. So we want that request.body object to be the friend object that we pass into add friend. We're going to .then, we're going to get a response, and let's just first console log our response. Then we're going to have a .catch, and we're going to solve for any errors that might come in here. So again, if we're dealing with a server that had the session timeout, and we made this call and the token was no longer valid, then we would get back an error response status 403. And if that happens, we want to dispatch the user unauthorized type. So we're actually going to borrow this from here. We're going to do the same thing. On every protected call, we want to dispatch user unauthorized if the error response status is 403. Now, of course, we're typing out the same code in a lot of different places, and there are drier ways to make this work. But for now, we're going to just keep this here on each call. And then of course we want to do that instead of the delete failure. For this walkthrough, we're not going to handle any of these failure calls, but of course in a live project you definitely would want to. Okay, give me 1 second and we will jump into this. Okay, so let's make this call and let's see what we get back as a response. So we'll say Josh Nell, Josh at lambdaschool.com. We would probably want to make this form wider since we have an email here, and emails tend to be kind of long at some point. Josh isn't 45. We'll say, I have no idea how old he is. 35. Okay, we're gonna click add a friend. Oh, something happened. We got a 403, but hey, look, it that worked where it logged us out and redirected us to the login page. Let's see. So let's take a look at our network and see what happened here. So our post was forbidden. Oh, you know what happened? Request header does not have the authentication header. So let's go back up here and we'll take a look at how we did this for our delete. So the optional last argument to any Axios call is a configuration object. On this configuration object, we can add a headers object, plural, headers plural, and that object takes in a capitalized authorization header, and then we grab our token off of local storage. So I'll build that out down here. So since we didn't have this headers object added to the call, it came back unauthorized. So we're going to go ahead and add our authorization header, authorization, and the value for this is going to be local storage .get item and token. Now sometimes you'll have the server will ask for this string. It'll say bearer, and then it'll want the token like that. So sometimes this is the string you need to send. For our server, it's just looking for the token to match here. So just a heads up, sometimes you'll see that word bearer in the string with the token. All right, so we've got that. Now let's go ahead and see. We'll log back in since it kicked us out, saying we were unauthorized. And let's go to add friend. Let's say Josh Nell, and we'll say j@ls.com and age 35. We'll go, let's clear out our network, clear out our console, click add friend. Okay, there we go. So our add friend got kicked off, and we also got this data back. So our data is the full array. That's so nice. A lot of times the server will only send back like the new ID, which makes sense. So if you have a list of 500 friends or well, maybe not 500, but more like 5,000 friends or a couple thousand, you know, a large list that's going to take the server a long time to gather from the database and send back to you. We would rather just send back the newly created ID that the server created and let the browser handle adding all the information as a new object onto our friends array. That just speeds things up if you've got a large list going on here. But for now, for this with this API, we're just sending back the entire list. So we can take res.data and update our state. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to dispatch a new action with the type add friend success and the payload res.data. Res.data again is our list of friends that we get back from the API. I'm gonna go ahead and restart my server so I can add Josh again, since he is now added in there. Now, another caveat, our server is just mocking a database by initializing a friends list here. So every time the server restarts, our friends list reverts back to this array. You will not have the ability to just restart the server and refresh your data. Normally you're dealing with an actual database, like a testing database with testing data, and you'll have to either reseed your database, and there's usually a function for that, or you'll have to use the delete functionality to delete that new friend that you just added, which I guess we could have done instead of restarting our server, since we have our delete functionality. Okay, let's try this out. Oh, we are dispatching success. Let's go handle add friend success in our reducer. So when we get this passed in here, we want to first say that we're no longer adding a friend. Change that to false. We want to clear out any error that we have. Oh. And we want to clear out our status code. And then we want to update our friends. And our friends, new friends list is action.payload. All right, and finally, when this call comes back successfully, we want to route our user back to our friends list. We want to go away from this. We're going to see the spinner, and then to tell our user that this API call was successful, we want to route back to our friends list. And we probably want to clear this data here. So let's go into friend form, and when we call this.props.addFriend, we want to set our state, set state with our friends object, and it's just going to reset all of these values. Okay, now the other thing we want to do is route back to the friends list, but we don't want to do that until we know that this has been successful. So in our action, if we return the promise created by this axios.post call, we can .then off of this post call, or this function call. We don't need a response. We don't need any data turned back. All we want to do is say this.props.history.push, take us back to, we still have it as restricted, right? Maybe it's protected. What is our endpoint here? Protected. So when this comes back successfully, it will let us run .then off of that call there, just by putting return in front of axios.post. When it comes back successfully, we will run this .props.history.push and route back to our protected route. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to do Josh Nell. He's going to be josh@lambdaschool.com and age 35. So we'll click. You see that load. Ah, yes. Perfect. There we go. There's our Josh Nell. Awesome. Let's check out our data success call. So fetch data success. Oh, add friend success right here. Payload is our new friend. So there is our add friend success. All right. That is the first part of this done. The last part we want to do is implement our update functionality. There's two ways to do this. Well, kind of three ways. One is we're going to bring in like a little pencil icon here so that you can click on that and it will update this friend. So what we could do is click on that pencil and turn this card into a form to update our friend on this card. The other option we have is to click this pencil, have it take us to this same form here to update our friend. It would auto-populate these fields with our friend there, and we could reuse this form for that. The third option is to create an entire new form, a new component, and handle it that way. What I think I'm going to do, since our Trinkets app in class reused this add friend form, what I want to do is build it so that when we click the little pencil icon, it's going to turn this card into a form. And then we can update the form here. So let's go ahead and build that in. So first we want to grab our pencil icon. So fa pencil, font awesome pencil. And is this protected? Let's see. We don't want the alt, we just want the pencil. Yes. Oh, pro. Let's just go pencil here and see. Oh, it is the alt that we wanted. Aha. Okay, we are going to copy this to our HTML. And we'll come into FriendsList. And we're going to find the card on our friend list. So there's our card, there's our icon, and let's add a pencil icon here. All right, let's go see what that did. That added it there, perfect. Let's do this. We're gonna go fa pencil alt. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Copy that, go into our styles, and let's find fa times. And then this is going to position it right on top of our times. And we don't want that color. We want primary color. This is using CSS variables, similar to preprocessor variables. I put this on the root, pseudo root here, which makes these variables accessible to any project. So it's kind of hackish way to do that. I wish that CSS gave us a different way to do that, but it works and we get variables in CSS. So this is just that green variable that we have, that green color that we have on the buttons. Okay, so it's right on top. Let's go ahead and bump this over. We want this one bumped over 26 pixels. Fa pencil, right, 26 pixels. There we go, perfect. Now, let's set this up. So we want to click on this. We want to not display this data here. We'd rather display a form. So let's create an EditForm component. EditForm. This is going to be really similar to FriendForm, so I'm just going to copy that, paste it into here, and change just a few things around. We still want connected. We're going to bring in EditForm. We want the same state. This will be called EditForm. Handle changes will be the exact same. Ooh, we're going to get we're going to pass in our friend on props to this EditForm. So we're not going to initialize with empty strings. We're going to say that our friend is going to be passed in as this.props.friend. And let's see, so that will populate our friend object with the data from the friend we click on. Handle changes will let us update those fields. This is now going to be edit friend. We don't care about setting state because our set state will get rendered, will get set with the friend that we click on whenever we click on this icon. This is going to call this.props.editFriend. It's going to pass in that same state, and we don't need to push because we're already here. Alrighty, so now let's see. We don't need an H2. So form, we're going to give this this will stylize it with that dark background and the green button. We're going to give this a new class name of EditForm and override those styles in just a minute here. We do want all of this. And yep, that's all correct. And we're going to say, we're going to add a new property called editing friend. This is called edit friend. This up here is editing friend. So we're going to bring editing friend Boolean from Redux. That's going to tell us when we're making this put request. And editing friend, it's going to give our spinner for that however long it takes. Now we pass in EditForm, and we should be good to go. So now the trick here is we're exporting this. We're going to import this into FriendsList. Import EditForm from /EditForm. When we click on an icon, we're going to do, let's see, so this gives us deleting friend ID. We want an editing friend ID set to null. When we click on that edit button, we will set editing friend ID to the ID of the friend we clicked on. And then inside our map, we're going to do some JavaScript here. So this is, right now, this is implicitly returning all of this JSX. we need to change that because we're going to do some JavaScript now. So we need to do our JavaScript in this callback function. And we're going to say if this.state.editingFriend ID equals friend.id return, and then our edit form rather than this div. And we're going to pass in our friend as the friend prop. Else, actually we don't need to even do else because we can just do return here. If this is true, then we return out of this function call and we don't ever touch this return. If that is false, then we skip the return inside the if statement and we jump to this return down here. And we've got an error somewhere. Let's make sure that okay, a lot of parentheses and curly braces. So let's go to our innermost ones here. That is there. This one is there. Those are there. Those are all correct. This one should be there. Then this should be for our if statement. Oh, we don't need one for our if statement. So this one is there. Then we've got parenthesis and bracket there. That looks better. We just had one too many parentheses. All right, so let's take a look at this. When we map over our friends, we're either creating a card, or if we're editing that friend, we're going to now display our edit form instead of this card list or this card data here. So let's go ahead and, where is our icon? Here we go, this icon here. So when we click on this icon, then we're going to run a function. All it's going to do is run this.setState and editing friend ID will be set to friend.id. And that should broken things. Let's see. Oh, I don't think I exported EditForm. Maybe I did. Yes, we did. Okay, some live debugging here. Woo! That all looks good. FriendsList in the connect. Let's go back to login. And let's just try logging in. Okay, so something's going on when we are editing friend ID of null. That's the problem here. So line 36. Line 36, this.state.editing friend ID. This.state is undefined. Oh, that's why. There we go. Now we should get our list. Perfect. So let's edit Austin. Hey, there we go. So you can see we've got some background, some styling that we need to fix here. So let's go ahead and, you know what, let's, instead of throwing styles on, this was kind of bad form anyways, just on the form, you can see that there's a lot of styling happen here. Let's see. We will go to our login form. So we need to do this both for our login and for our friend form. We're just going to add a class here. We're going to call this form. We'll just call it form. We'll do the same on friend form. There we go. Then in our styles, we'll just start with this. I think the labels we may want to keep the same. Well, they're colored white, so we'll change that in just a second. Okay, so we click on one. All right, what is being rendered here with that background? So form, friend form. Aha, that's why. So in our friends list, we just forgot to change. Oh, in our edit form. Remember, we copied this edit form component from friend form. So this is where we're getting that styling from. Edit form. Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead and we're going to wrap this form inside a card. So we get this card. And then we need our data back. So friend list, we need our display flex back. Okay, so edit form needs to be wrapped inside friends card. And close that div and close that. Should clean things up nicely for us. There we go. When we click on this, we get our edit form. But of course, the inputs and everything are white. So let's go ahead and do edit form and just fix a couple of these styles here. So we'll go form.label, go edit form, and any labels inside our edit form are just going to be colored. Let's do that primary color. Let's see how that looks on white. It might be too light. Oh, you know what? We have a dark blue variable. So let's go ahead and grab that. So we'll do our dark blue. Save that. That should give us our full name, age, email. Perfect. Okay. We want .editForm to receive the same flex properties here. Okay, working so far. We also want some padding. We'll say this will be 16 pixels. There we go. Looking good, looking good. Last piece is the inputs. Edit form. Oops. Input, we want the border to be 1px solid, and then this variable here. There we go. So we've got all the information inside there. I'm going to remove the border from this button. Again, not the best way to handle all of this since we're using such the elements here. We really should have better class names happening. Oh. There we go. Okay, so we've got that styled. Now we can go ahead and create the functionality. Let's make sure that we can type into here, 530 years old. Let's just double check to make sure that this state is updating correctly. Yay for all of the digging down. Whew. This is why hooks are going to be awesome. It will help fix this problem. Look at this, it's so nested. So incredibly nested just to get to FriendsList. State, let's see. Oh, we need to go inside and click on the EditForm state here. Yep, perfect. So that is updated correctly. Now, you'll notice that our component tree is set up such that our EditForm is nested inside FriendsList. FriendsList is where we want to, well, actually with Redux, we don't need, EditForm is connected, so we can pass our edit friend action creator straight to EditForm. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we don't have to pass down like an edit friend function from FriendsList to EditForm and get data back and call it there. So in EditForm, what we're going to do, the one thing that we're going to want to do though is we're going to want to toggle this back to null, editing friend ID. So maybe this will be better to handle. Yeah, let's do this. Let's make FriendsList our container component, and this is going to be the connected component, and it's going to pass everything down that this EditForm needs in order to run this as props. So we have our FriendsList. Our FriendsList is going to bring in the edit friend action creator, and we're going to have an edit friend function call. We can set this up right now. We know exactly what it's going to do. We're going to prevent the default. We're going to call this .props. We're going to call our action creator, and we're going to pass in new friend. Well, we'll just pass in a friend object. Look, friend object. Where do we get this friend object from? Since edit friend lives here in FriendsList, so here's FriendsList. Actually, let's search for this guy. So edit friend lives in FriendsList is going to be passed down to EditForm and invoked inside EditForm. EditForm has our friend object. So when we invoke edit friend from FriendsList, we're going to pass in this .state.friend and pass that up to EditForm here, as well as the event. When this is successful, we're going to run this.setState, and editing friend ID we will set back to null, and that will toggle it back to that will toggle, oh, let's capitalize that, this back to null, which will remove our form from that card, and then we should have our updated friend on that card. Okay, so this.props.editFriend, we pass in friend, we get a .then, this.state, we set our editing friend back to null. So let's go ahead and pass editFriend into the connect function. Very good. And let's pass editFriend. We're going to pass the class property, not the action creator. So this.editFriend gets passed in to EditForm. So let's go into EditForm, and when we run this.editFriend, we're doing that in that higher component. So we just need to pass that down like that. We have this.props.editFriend being passed in, and we should be good to go there. Whew. Okay, this one from this.props.editFriend is coming from FriendsList, not from our action creator anymore. So let's go ahead and get rid of the action creator. We're not going to connect this function anymore. We're going to pass down all these props from FriendsList. So that means we need editing friend brought into FriendsList and passed down to EditForm. There we go. So we need an editing friend passed down this.props.editing friend. We're going to get that from here. So we need to pass this in there, and we need to pass it in there. Okay, so we're getting this error. I think it's because we've got a .then on something that doesn't exist, and it's just saying, oh, unexpected token. So what is our unexpected token? Line 27. Expected a comma. That should not be right. So edit friend. Let's see. Still getting an unexpected token. Let's refresh this page. May just be a sandbox issue. Nope. Nope, we definitely have something weird going on here. Okay, event.prevent default. We've got edit friend, event.prevent default, this.props.edit friend, pass in a friend, .then, and a callback function, this.set state. Wonder what is going on there. We can't prettify, it's not going to update our syntax because it's running into this error. Unexpected token. So this is unexpected. You probably already see what I'm doing wrong. Let's see, this.set state. Aha. No, we are in a class component. So that's correct. We wouldn't have set state if we weren't in a class component. Editing friend ID, we're setting to null. Okay, so let's start at the top here. See if we're missing something somewhere else. It's good to go through some debugging sessions, make sure that we're all still human here. That all looks correct. Component did mount. That looks correct. Delete friend. It may just be that that this isn't set up yet to take a dot then. Let's go ahead and just delete our dot then for now. That looks like it worked. Okay, so we'll come back to that after we pass this in and do our edit friend start. Okay, so that's the UI setup for this whole situation. Now we just need to implement the Redux flow. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to say edit friend. We're going to create an action. Our actions and our reducer should probably be split out at this point into different folders or different files. You can see how long this is getting, how many action types we have. Our reducer is going to be really, really long. For brevity and for continuity, we're just going to keep everything as is. Our edit friend start. And let's go ahead and create our success and failure. We know the flow from here on out, right? This is the tedious part of Redux, is that you just have to rewrite a lot of this code over and over and over again. Edit friend. This takes in a friend object. It's a thunk, so we return another arrow function that gets past the dispatch function. We're going to first dispatch type edit friend start. So let's go ahead and add all three of these to our reducer. And again, our reducer is just getting super long at this point. So we would want to probably break out any of our fetching, any of our logging in into their own reducer, and then keep everything that is friend related, like deleting, adding, or editing. Those three all have to do with our friends list. So we would keep these probably in one, like friends reducer. Then we would have an auth reducer, and we would have a fetch reducer. Technically, this could go in. This is fetching our friends, so maybe that would stay. Maybe we would just break out these three user types or action types. Okay. Case for edit friend start. Here we go. We're going to spread in state, and we're going to editing friend. We're going to set to true. Let's go up and add an editing friend. We don't even have that yet. So editing friend false. This we would want to clean up as well. This is getting a little bit, we either do it alphabetically or maybe put all of your booleans together in one spot. I don't know, but this list is driving me nuts. We definitely would want to clean that up. All right, so when we click on that button, we're going to send a action type, an action 2. We're going to dispatch an action to the reducer, and we're going to set editing friend to true. That is being imported or connected here, editing friend, through our map state to props. So, but the button itself is in EditForm, right? And it's expecting this.props.editingFriend. So let's make sure we're passing editing friend down as a prop to our edit form. And there we go, editing friend, this.props.editingFriend. Okay, moment of truth. Yay, it worked. It's working. It's working. All right, last part. To finish this up, we're going to actually make our put request, axios.put. And are we .thenning off of edit friend? I forget. Let's go check. So friends list. Oh, we are going to .then. Remember that was throwing the error. So we want to first, where's my actions? We want to return this promise that's being created here. So we're going to go to this endpoint, but we need to, just like our delete, we're actually going to go to this endpoint. So let's actually do this. We'll copy this one. So in our server, we've got our put request right here. Our put endpoint goes to /API/friends:ID. So same as our delete there. So let's just replace this with our interpolated string, and we're going to call friend.id because we're getting our friend passed in here, which will have an ID. Then we need our friend object. We need to tell our server, we need to give our server our new friend object, and we need to authenticate the user. So there we go. We will .then off of this, get a result back, which is going to be the same thing that we've received before, just a new updated array of friends. So let's just copy and paste this whole .then.catch situation. And instead of add friend success, we're going to say edit friend success and edit friend failure. All right, so this gets us the result. Res.data will be our updated list of friends. So we're going to dispatch our friend success with our new array. So we can go into our reducers. We can write a new case. We can return state. We want to set editing friend to false. Set error back to a string. Set our error status code back to null. And now our friends list will be action.payload. And that should do it, except we also want to .then off of here and run this .set state editing friend ID is going to be null. Okay, no error this time. So yeah, that's interesting that Code Sandbox was waiting for this to return a function or to return a promise, and it wasn't. So that threw an error, and the error message unfortunately was a little bit cryptic, but we finally figured out what was going on there. All right, so let's try this out. Let's pull up our console. We'll delete that. We'll delete network. Benjamin. He's now 33. Ooh, that's okay. We'll go back, fix this, and say edit friend. Click that, Benjamin. There it is. Age 33, Benjamin. Let's look at our request. So our request had the authorization header. It sent in our updated object, and we got back our updated friend list. So the very last thing we need to do is just inside EditForm, change this to edit friend. And we are good to go. We could do a logout button here, but since we don't have logout, endpoint here, we're not going to worry too much about that right now. Usually there's a logout endpoint that you send a request to that will nullify the token and end that session. You would also want to remove item, run local storage.remove item token and remove your token, and then route back to the login page or whatever kind of thanks for joining, come back soon type page. All right, thanks for joining me. I will post this code sandbox should be posted already in the comments or in the information section on the YouTube video. Have a great day.